aligned with who we are, what we want to become, and where we want to go. Okay, woo, 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 woo. I cannot begin to tell y'all. They showed me how to use this. They did. Girl Scout on. There we go. Okay. So we want to go back. So this is for Paul Gill again. Give him a hand. And Paul, they couldn't stay away from you. Meryl Streep decided to get in on it. And Jennifer Lopez. So we're crazy about you. Texas Payroll, as you know, this conference is about sound investments. And this is what I know about y'all. Let me back up a second. I want to take an opportunity right now for everyone who is a CPP, stand up, please. Wow, look at that. Holy Chihuahua. Talk about investment. And now our FCP, stand up. Hot darn. Wow. So, this is what I want you to know. Everybody here, and I started thinking about it, sound investment, and then I was thinking, these are people who are way ahead of the game because you are here investing in yourself at this conference. So again, give yourself a hand. Everybody here. So when I was first invited, which was over a year ago, I have been thinking about y'all. And I'd like to thank, because of Susan Young and because of Martha Esquardo. Did I get that right? Esquardo. And she told me that her daughter's in the Navy and they just call her Squirrel. Now, isn't that nice to have a name that translates so beautifully, right? So when they first asked me, first of all, I was so excited. And so I've spent a year thinking about all of you. I thought about you, I thought about you, I thought about you, I thought about you, and you, and you, and you. And I said to myself, this is great. We're going to talk about steps. And with every step, you got to take a first step. But then, the more I thought about it, I thought, if they're at the conference, and a majority of them have their CPP and their FCP, and from what I understand about that, only 50% of the people pass those exams. And you have to have a minimum of 3 to 5 years to even get to take the exam. So y'all are so far ahead of the game. So I said, I can't start with the first step because you've taken it. And several people here have shown me their little stepper thing. So they're already taking quite a few steps. So I thought where we would start today is let's start with the second step. Is that good? Okay, so let's talk. And let's give yourselves a hand one more time. Texas Payroll rocks. Rock. And I noticed that not anybody came up to dance with me earlier. Did y'all notice that? Was that the only one that noticed that? That happened at prom too. So research shows that 78% of professionals do not achieve their career goals. 78%. And the thing is it is rarely because of their skill sets as far as technical, as far as tactile. That's not why they're not succeeding. They're not succeeding because they didn't go to school. They went to school. A lot of them have advanced degrees. A lot of them have their masters and their MBAs, but they're still not achieving their career goals. So what do we think that's about? So what it's about is that it's the soft skills. It's the emotional intelligence. That's where we're not always getting it. And let me tell you what. I have been coaching now for 25 years. And this is what I know. The soft skills are the hardest skills. They are hard. They are hard. It is hard to get out of your comfort zone. It is hard to do something different. Why do you think they came up with that Fitbit thing? Because we couldn't even figure out how to walk. So we have to make it doable. We have to make it easy. We have to give ourselves an incentive in order to do what we know we need to do. So I want to tell you a little bit about myself. And I have the privilege of working with top-tier executives and emerging leaders. Now, when I was growing up, I didn't have any heroes. The only one I knew of was Superman and Clark Kent. And the only thing I really liked about that show was when he would take off through the sky. I thought that was really très cool, okay? But as far as being my hero, there wasn't that feeling. And then the years went by. I maturated. I grew. And when I became a coach and started working with my clients, that is when I knew that I had found my heroes. My heroes, my clients, are people who are determined to be their better self. It's like over here where it says steps to a better you. My clients are in some form, fashion, manner, or way in some type of transition. Now, some people are in transition and they're still going to work. They haven't really been there mentally for their job in years. Some of them are being proactive and they want to move into something. Some of them want to move out of something, and some of them want to move up into something. So they're all in some type of transition. And what's really difficult for them in the beginning is to get what got them there will not get them where they want to go. So there are things that need to be looked at. I was talking to Tanya and Carl and Martha. I was talking to a lot of people. Okay, there are a lot of people here to talk to. Y'all notice that? A lot of people to talk to. And we were talking briefly. At the end of the year, I'll have my first book coming out. And the name of it is Inner Gold, The Essential Guide to Intentional Leadership. And that's what we're talking about here today. It's when we mine the inner gold within us. When we look at what it is that if we did it, it could change our lives. And what I would say to you and what I say to my clients is I want you to make a list of everything you don't want to do. That you knew, I'm so glad you came, that if you were to do it, it would change your life. That's how we find it. So when my clients come in, And let me tell you about one of my clients. So she still is married, okay? But her husband got transferred to Houston. And she came from a very tight-knit family on the East Coast. And her family said, oh, don't be going to Houston. Don't be going to Houston. There are no scientists in Houston. Who knew? The medical center, I don't know if anybody's let them know. But don't be going to Houston. There are no scientists there. And not only are there no scientists there, but you're not going to make the money that you're making up here. And if that's not enough, nobody is going to hire you because you are 61. Oh my gosh. So here she came to Houston, being told that there were no scientists here, that nobody was going to hire her. She wasn't going to make the money that she made before. And not only that, God forbid, she was 61. She didn't have a prayer, right? And she was referred to me, and she went through my workshop. I have a 3-day intensive workshop. This is where I was, this is where I am, this is where I'm going, and this is how I'm going to get there. So the entire time that she was in the workshop until the last day, it began to shift a little bit. Every time we would ask her a question, she would go, oh, but you know, I'm 61. And I would say, well, you know, we're looking at that if you could like shift. She said, but you know, Cecilia, I'm 61. And then we would go a little bit, and we moved into the second day, and we were talking about how we make mind shifts and those kind of things. And she said, well, I can't. I'm 61. And it got to be where everybody in the group, whenever she would start to open her mouth, they'd say, you're 61. In case nobody's told you, you're 61. So after she went through the workshop, and she had made some progress there, and remember, we're talking about small steps. So one of the things that she learned in the workshop was, guess what? She could take a step. She could look at herself differently. She could step back and reassess. Have y'all all noticed the guy that is, well, I'm sure there's more than one guy, but you know when you're at a, what do you call them, a race? You know, they get down like this, you know? Anybody ever seen that? I'm the only one? Okay. So he gets down like this, and they're getting ready to take off before they shoot the gun, right? And what do? They take a step back first. They take a step back to begin to get grounded so they can go forward. And that's what she did. She took a step back, and then we started working one-on-one. And it was like a drop, and then a drop, and then another drop, and another drop, and another drop. And one day, she came into my office, and she's got this piece of paper that she's swinging around, and she said, oh my God, I found my perfect job. Oh my God, I found my perfect job. But I'm 61. I said, really? I didn't know you were 61. So I said, do you really want this job? She said, yes, it's perfect for me. It's everything I do. And I went, so let's roll up our sleeves. We got work to do. So she rolled up her sleeves, and we really began to work on that mindset, to stretch it so that she could begin to see that 61 was not a death knell. As we began to work on that, and she began to make progress, the next thing I know is she's coming into my office, and she said, I got an interview. Yes! Interview! Yes! And so we started talking about the interview, and I said, if you could have anything you really wanted with this, what would it be? And she said, I would like to, I can't decide if I want to use the word crack or break. I'm going to go with break. I want to break 6 figures. I said, great. Well, then we will do that too. We'll get you into 6 figures. And I said, but you have to be very careful with the negotiation. So we talked about that. And then in the interview, the interviewer flew in from Berlin that was really in her favor. It was like the people up in the Northeast. Because the first thing that the person said to her from Berlin, there's no scientist in Houston. Yes. And I am thinking, oh my God, we can double her salary. If she's the only scientist in the city of Houston, this woman's going to make big bucks. I was trying to contain my joy. So then what happened is I told her, I said, if you play your cards right, you can double your salary. And then she started hyperventilating. And I had to get her one of those big paper sacks from Kroger. And so she's blowing into the sack, and I went, let me tell you what. Sometimes we want with a want so big, but then when it comes, we're not ready. We haven't built our weight enough to carry it. So that's why we take small steps. That's why we take incremental steps. So she began to calm down. Okay. So we put together our strategic plan to go back in. We did not double her salary because she did not have the weight. Even though she could have gotten it, she didn't have the weight to ask for it. But she did have the weight to increase her salary by 35%. That is unheard of. Would you all give her a hand, please? Yeah. Thank you. She could carry that. So here she is. She's got a job that uses her scientific background. She just took her salary up 35%. She found out that she was the only scientist in Houston. And then when we were meeting, I asked her, I said, so when do you start your new job? She said, Monday. And I said, well, you look a little concerned. Cecilia? And I said, yes. What if they find out I'm 61? I said, HR knows everything. They know you're 61. They know, watch my lips, they know you are 61. They know. So she went off to work because now that she knew that they knew, she didn't have to worry about being found out. Can you imagine somebody coming up to your desk one day? You're 61. We found out. It's going on PBS tonight. We're still working together because she is like you. She wants to be her better self. Where we are right now in her career is that recently all of the higher ups came in from Berlin for a huge client that they have here in Houston. And this is a woman who never spoke up in meetings. And we had really worked on that incrementally, step by step by step. And she would get scared, and then she would stretch a little bit more. And then she would get scared, and she would stretch. But it's like somebody famous said, I can't remember, maybe it was Mark Twain, maybe it was, Thoreau, maybe it was Walt Whitman. I dated them all. But one of them said that when you stretch a balloon, it will never return to its original shape. So that's what happens. When we take each of those steps, we're never going to go totally back from whence we came. And that is what has been happening with her. So all of the, bigwigs are in town, and they had this installation in their hallway in the company where on both sides of this wall are nothing but whiteboards. And so this gentleman says to my client, so could you just draw up there for me everything that you're doing in your project? And she said inside, she was frozen, but she had worked on herself. She had stretched a little bit and all the things that we had been working on over a period of time. So she knew one of the things that she really learned to do really well, which I did before I came up here. I taught her that. You breathe. You breathe. You breathe into it. You integrate. Now, I told her not to do that out loud. So the gentleman, after she goes through this whole thing on the whiteboard, he turned around to her and he said, that was the most incredible presentation I've ever seen. I would love to learn from you. We had to pick her up off the floor because, she's 61. And now we're preparing her for a promotion. It is step by step by step. And if you were to look back over your career, you would find that you did not get here in taking one big giant step. Those of you that have your certifications, the CPP and the FCP, that's a really hard exam. I would be surprised, and it doesn't mean that it didn't happen, but that somebody would not even study for that and go in and ace it. Do you think that's possible? I don't think so. It was a step-by-step process. And I'm going to tell you quickly about one other of my clients, my heroes. So one of my guys was with one of the largest financial institutions, and he was the SVP of internal communication. But he wasn't happy. And the reason why he wasn't happy is because he wanted more flexibility for himself and his family. And not only that, but he's a writer. And he wanted to write. So we put together a strategic plan, and he began to look, and he found this company that he really fell in love with. But it was a medium-sized company. It wasn't a big company like the company that he came from. And so what happened is, when he was ready to negotiate, he said to me, Cecilia, they're never going to pay me what I made at the other company. Really? I said, where's that written? Oh, well, it's obvious, Cecilia, they're not. I said, well, until you have a discussion, you won't know, will you? So once he got grounded, and once he connected with what his value is and what he brings to the party, we talked about that there's a lot of different ways to make that kind of money. It took almost 4 weeks. He and I would meet, and then he would go talk to them. And then he and I would meet, and he would get scared. And these are high-level senior people. What I'm telling you is fear lives in all of us. And so when we work with that fear, instead of trying to shove it away, and we embrace the fear, and we breathe through the fear, then that allows us to do what we need to do to get what we say we want. And that's what he did. And he got what he was making at his other company. And he was still in shock. So it's not that it's not possible, but it takes tenacity. It takes courage. It takes the 3 things we're going to talk about today. It takes, number 1, self-awareness. Number 2, confidence. And number 3, the willingness to change, to be adaptable. Those are the 3 things that will get you to where you want to go. That is why these people well, I was pointing there, if you can't see them down here, but they're over there too. Those people are my heroes, because no matter what, they do what they don't want to do, but they have their focus so laser that they stay with it. And as in Japan or Japanese, what they say is fall down 7 times and get up 8. So investing in yourself isn't just something that you can go by. It's a series of steps that you take in order to protect your career and in order to grow professionally. So the first one is self-awareness. We can't change what we don't know. I can't say that enough. We can't change what we don't know. And the thing is it's tricky. It is difficult to get to know who you are. It's difficult to begin to ask those questions. It's difficult to understand when we are in our own skin because we don't see what's going on around us, or we don't see how we're impacting other people. So there is a thing, the HR people are probably very familiar with the Johari window. So in 1955, there were 2 psychologists. One's name was Joseph Luft, and the other one was Harrington Ingham. And these 2 psychologists got together, and what they had seen with their clients is all of the different levels of not being aware. And so they put together the Johari window. And the Johari window has quadrants, 4 of them. And the one that I want to focus on, in fact, I'll go through them quickly, but the one we're going to focus on for us today is going to be C. So A is what I know about myself and like to reveal to others. What this means is I control what it is that I want you to know about me. Because I don't have to tell you everything. The second one is what I know about myself but conceal from others. So for all we know, Paul Gill is an Elvis impersonator on the weekend. So those are the things that we make a decision about. And then D, I'll come back to C, is what I don't know about myself and what others don't know. So it's what none of us knows, not even Carl Sagan. The one we care about is the one where what I don't know about myself, but others do. Have any of you ever been talking to a colleague and you say, how can she not know that? How can she not know that a skirt up to here is not appropriate? How can that guy not know how to iron a shirt? These are the things where we scratch our head and we go, how can they not know? One day I was doing a mock interview with one of my clients, and we videoed them, thank God, because otherwise they would never believe me. And during the entire interview, he had a ballpoint pen. Click, 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 and it is taking everything within me not to rip it out of his hand. And I was so patient because I couldn't wait to play back the video. So I said to him after the mock interview, before anything else, I said, so, I think you may have been a little nervous. And he said, well, what made you think that? I said, the clicking of the pen. He said, oh, I didn't do that. I said, really? He said, no, I was just holding the pen, just for a little bit of security blanket. I said, well, let's play the video. And I had to pick him up off the floor. He couldn't believe it. He went, oh my gosh. I said, anybody in their right mind that's interviewing you is going to get you out of there as fast as they possibly can before they lose their mind. So I want you to think about that self-awareness is not easy. It's difficult. We all have parts of ourselves, which is how we cannot not know something. I know in my 20s particularly, oh God, what a decade that was. Anybody here was ever 20? Oh good, I was the only one. And I had a boss who was a wonderful boss. And, I was pretty taken with myself at 20. I thought I was smart. I was happening. Oh, yeah, I got it going on. And I guess around this time, I was probably about 26, 27. I was really feeling my oats. And one day, my boss said to me, Cecilia. I went, oh, God, that didn't sound good. He said, you really take yourself seriously. I was appalled. I mean, I don't come across like that. I mean, I wasn't like, I'm all that and tuna fish sandwich. I mean, that's not me. And it was me. And you know what? If you think about the times that somebody has told you what you do not know, that is probably, if you allow it to be, can be a changing direction in your life. But I don't know anybody that just relishes feedback. Oh, please give me feedback. Because usually they say to you, I'm going to be brutally honest. And it's, oh my God, they're always more brutal than they are honest. But these are the people who are helping us to grow. These are the people who are giving us information. And with that information, we can make a choice as to whether to do it or not. And in performance reviews, a lot of managers don't tell their people the truth. So you can't change what you don't know. And if they don't tell me, and then later they surprise me and say, well, it just didn't work out, we got to let you go, or I'm part of a layoff, because nobody told me. I didn't get a chance to change anything. We do a disservice to people whom we do not tell the truth in a kind way. And also a disservice is done to us if somebody doesn't share with us. And usually the only person who's going to tell you the truth, and they're not, and you can't always count on them either, is your best friend. Because they're afraid that you're going to get all huffy and you're going to get your feelings and then you're going to pout and then you're not going to talk to them for about a month or two and you're going to hold it over their head for the rest of their life. So if we're not good at taking feedback and using it to grow, then we are the loser, not the person that told us. So this is what I want you to do. Now, you don't have to tell anybody about, oh my God, whatever it is that you would never tell anybody. I just want to start with one small part of self-awareness. And this is the piece I would like. There are things that you know about yourself that you're proud of. There's things that you know about yourself. And this is every bit as important because we need to know our strengths and we need to know our weaknesses. So turn to the person to your right. And if there's no one on your right, then find somebody somewhere and tell them your name. And then tell them one thing about you. Maybe you can tell them I'm funny, or maybe you can tell them, I'm really organized, or people come to me when they want their spices alphabetized. So let's do that. Turn to your right. And if you have a triad, do the 3. So did some of you come up with more than one thing? So did everybody know one thing about themselves? Was that a yay or a nay? Yay! So you were able to successfully complete that exercise. Excellent. Give yourself a hand. I love y'all's energy. Y'all just make me want to shout, get down, boogie mama. Uh-huh. So, you know a strength of yours, right? And so for every strength, it also has its 180, doesn't it? So the person that is alphabetizing the spices, what do you think that maybe they may not know in that incredible skill set they have? That they drive their spouse crazy? Or maybe the people who work for them? Or their manager? So these are the ways that we can begin to look at ourselves, our self-awareness. Because those things that we're really, really good at, everything has an opposite effect too, right? And so I want you to begin to think about that. And I want to share with you, Warren, one day Warren and I were sitting there chatting. We were at that spaghetti place in Omaha. Yeah, he goes there a lot, I read. And this is what Warren said to me. He said, now, Cecilia, this is very important. If you don't ever remember anything else this lifetime, he said, I'm going to tell you, you have to invest in yourself. Well, okay. And he said, not only that, he said, I want to make sure that you address whatever weaknesses you have, and I want you to do it now. And I went, oh my God, I don't think I have that much nerve. And then he said that when he was younger, he was terrified of public speaking. He said, I just couldn't do it. But he invested in himself. $100 to take a Dale Carnegie course, and he said it changed his life forever. I'll never forget that moment that he told me that. And I am so glad y'all came. I miss you. We chatted earlier. Where can you invest in yourself? Investment is not always a course. Sometimes an investment is reflection. Do you know how many people do not take the time to reflect anymore? That they don't sit down and wonder why something did or didn't work. There's a lot of different ways to invest in ourselves. So anybody speak Chinese, Japanese? Chinese, Japanese, Japanese. It's Japanese. Anybody speak Japanese? I don't either. But this is what I know because I invested in myself. I Googled Kaizen many years ago. And when I found it, I was like, oh my God, I could have had a V8. A lot of y'all are too young to have ever had a V8. But Kaizen, Kai meaning change, and Zen meaning good. So it means good changes. But let's take it a little bit further. Let's use it the way Toyota uses it. Woohoo! We got Toyota in the room. Yay! So you get, each one of you, 50,000 points. So Toyota, it's continuous change, incremental continuous change. That's how we do drop, 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 until the drop splits the rock. Do you agree with me, Jennifer? I am so glad you are here. You are exuding again. So you want to drop, well, you don't want to drop, but you want to think about the drop. It is one thing, but you've got to be consistent. We've got to show up consistently. We've got to show up in a way that people can count on us. That's the drop that split the rock. Do you know, or can you possibly fathom how long it took to split that rock? Paleolithic, I think. But the rock split, and yours can too. So my promise to you today is that you are going to walk away with at least one or two small changes that if you do them consistently, if you show up consistently for yourself, that this time next year, you will be different in some form or fashion and a better edition of yourself. So, my little lion went too fast. I love him. I just kind of admired that. I probably sat and looked at that for hours. Because every one of us have felt that way. We know that we were born to expand. We were born to be an expansive part of ourselves. We're here to grow, not meditate on our navels. Anybody ever meditated on your navel? Yeah, you have to go to India to do that. But what we want is to look and be willing for that expansion to take place. And the little kitty who finds out they've got the roar of a lion. And confidence does not happen without being scared and stretching and of doing what you don't want to do. That's the only way to build confidence. You cannot get confidence at Best Buy. They are not selling it. Target has no confidence on sale. In fact, that's one of the things that has disturbed me about most leadership books. They say, well, these are the characteristics of a leader. You ought to go to Target and see if you can buy some of that. They don't tell you how. They don't tell you how a leader becomes a great leader. And what we're talking about is that underbelly that nobody tells you about. That they don't tell you how many times that leader fell. They don't tell you how many times she had to get up again. They don't tell you how many times that she had to hurl herself against walls in order to get to where she got. They don't tell you how many times she had to wear that Fitbit thing and make sure that she paid attention to it. And that she didn't take it off of her arm until she got her 10,000 steps. Small things like that make a huge difference. And like I just said, it takes courage. And I want you to ask yourself, and jot this down. You don't have to tell me the answer right now. But what I want you to think about is, first let me make a statement. Every one of us have areas in our life where we did not grow up. Just look at your spouse and you'll be able to see it more clearly. He's still leaving his clothes on the floor. And she's nodding. That is a great place to start. Where do I need to grow up in my life? I was talking to my editor and I said, I really want to mention something about making up your bed. And she said, what? I said, yeah, making up your bed. I said, I remember when I was a child and my mother would tell me I had to make up my bed. And I would say, why? I'm going to get in it tonight. And that was purely logic, total logic to me. But then as I maturated and grew and was looking for areas to really be my better self, making up my bed made sense for several reasons. Number one, when I make up my bed, I have accomplished something the very first thing in the morning. So now my shoulders are back. I have made my bed. I am ready to take on the next event of brushing my teeth. It's exhilarating. It's exciting. And the second thing is when we live in chaos, our outer world is a reflection of our inner world. So if my bed is not made up, I got chaos going on within. And every time I walk in that room, I'm put into energetic chaos. And I can tell you this, when I make my bed up in the morning, I sit there sometimes, I just look at it. I go, wow, this is a haven. This is a place people, well, I don't want to get carried away there, but this is an inviting room. This is a good room. And the bed's all made up, the pillows are all fluffed, things are all in their place. When that's in its place, I'm in my place. That's what I'm telling you. This does not have to be rocket science. There are small things. I promise you, if you start making up your bed, and guess what I read statistically? Only 24% of the population make their bed. And of those 24, a lot of them pay somebody to make their bed. Think of things. I want you to think small in order to show up in your life big. Because it is that daily routine that makes great leaders. It's that daily routine that makes us connected and aligned with who we are, what we want to become, and where we want to go. So let me tell you how this happens. You can tell his bed's not made up. When we were children, we had monsters under our bed. And we would cry and we wouldn't go to sleep until our parents came in, not happily, I can assure you, with a flashlight. They made us get out of bed. They took the flashlight, they put it under the bed until we could see there were no monsters under the bed. And then when you felt safe, you got back in bed and you went to sleep. But you know what happened? When we became adults, the monsters moved out from under the bed and into our head. So these are the monsters that we're afraid of here. These are the monsters that tell us we can't do something. These are the monsters that keep us in a comfort zone. These are the monsters that keep us from growing. These are the monsters that say, if I speak up in a meeting, what if I say something wrong? These are the monsters that say, if you do that, maybe you'll get humiliated. These are the monsters that say, you can't do that because guess what? You're 61. By the way, she's 63 now and doing very well, I might add. So we're going to talk about body language of confidence here. How do I explain this? There is in our DNA a way of communicating and relating. And we know it, and we know it so well that we don't know it because it is a part of us. It is like involuntary breathing. We breathe no matter what, whether we are focused on breathing or not, we breathe it. Well, there are certain ways that we show confidence or relate to people, whether we realize it or not. And the way we carry our posture and the way we connect with them. And it's very, very subtle. Has anybody ever watched Animal Kingdom? Thank God you came. Oh, those people over there, those are the animal people over there. I love you people. You can watch animals and you can always tell the status, can't you? And even with my cat, when I brought in a new kitty, it was like, and she would puff up. And the little one would go, I'm so sorry. I really didn't mean to do that. I'm really sorry. And would immediately back down. When you become conscious of using your body and really working on your confidence, like one of the things that I do is I start getting my energy back. I start aligning my body. And in fact, I'm going to tell you something that's not in my program today, but because y'all are so lovely, I'm going to share it to you. I'm going to share it with you, not to you. Sister Amora wouldn't like that English. I call it the 5 H's. Head, heart, hara, heels, and hand. And this is a way to get yourself aligned. When you connect with somebody just head to head, intellect to intellect, guess what? This is how we got an Enron. Because people weren't connecting. It was all about just talking at you. Have you ever had anybody just talk at you? I'm the only one? Oh, thank God. Okay. So you know when somebody's just talking at you. When you connect the head to the heart, now we get a heart-centered leader. Head, heart, connected. Then right below your navel is your hara. Not horror, not the monsters under the bed. It's spelled H-A-R-A. This is your power center. This is your power center. So when you're aligned with your head, your heart, and your hara, we got alignment here, right? And then you have your heels. The heels are on the ground. They ground you. Now you are a straight line. The shoulders are rolled in back, the head, the heart, the hara, the heels, and now the hands. And this is how we take action. Hands take action. So when I am totally aligned and with my power center, you can come at me from here and you cannot knock me over. You can come at me from here, unless I'm wearing these shoes. You can knock me over and like that. But when you are aligned, you are totally one with yourself. People can't knock you off. They can't throw you off. They can't take advantage of you when you are in alignment. And so when we, as humans, don't even realize it, that we're looking at people all the time, and there is a sixth sense, there is a part of us that is so tuned in that I know whether or not I can knock you over. Has anybody ever had that experience? You know somebody can't stand up against you. Or you know that you don't have the power and you're not aligned enough to go in there and ask for a raise. You're not aligned enough and in your power where you can go in and ask for what it is that you want. So it's really incredibly important to understand that our body is very powerful and we need to pay attention to it. And the first thing that we walk into a room, when I see somebody coming in a room, I'm immediately, just because I'm a human and it's in my DNA, I have immediately made a judgment. Now that judgment may not always be conscious, but I have decided whether or not with my connection with that person. So this is what we call a power pose. This is the energy, when we get energy running through our body. That's that alignment. So let's talk about the body language of confidence. So like I just said a minute ago, we are constantly making judgments. And there are verbal and nonverbal languages. And when they are misaligned, guess what people are going to believe? Your body. They will always believe your body over anything you say, because the body never lies. And again, it is such a part of us, it is so embedded in us that we are not even conscious of it. The thing is we're socialized by people who care about us. And these people have taught us certain ways to show up. And because it's comfortable, because that's how we grew up, we have difficulty in making changes that are going to serve us. We are constantly, every day, negotiating hierarchy at home and at work. And we know our place. And until we make those changes, drop by drop by drop, are we going to be able to get to a place where we can change our place? Do you notice, again, it's like I said in the beginning, it's that expansion. That just happens. That person doesn't say, oh, I think when I get to the finish line, I'm going to throw my arms up. Do they? Their arms automatically expand. The body expands. Have you ever seen a rooster? That rooster is telling you who the rooster in the pen is. It is a natural part of the animal kingdom and the human kingdom. So I want you to do this with me. I want you to make sure your elbows are away from your body, okay? And I want you to put your hands behind your head and maybe drape one of your arms over a chair. Stretch your legs out. There you go. Put an ankle over your knee. Yeah, men like to do that one. Now, I want you to hold that posture. Everybody holding it? Because I'm getting ready to get you to read something aloud with me. Do not change your posture. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't hear y'all. I feel so helpless. I feel worthless. I'm never going to be successful. You don't believe that. Your body did not align with that. Your body doesn't agree with that. She's totally shocked. You cannot be in expansion and believe those things. That's how important knowing how our body shows up is. Okay, we're going to do another one. Now, this time, what I want you to do is I want you to get in a contractive or restrictive posture. Keep your hands close to your body. Make sure your knees are together. Now, lean forward and turn your feet in. Okay? Everybody got it? Everybody got it? I'm totally in charge. I am invincible. I'm on top of the world. Everyone respects me. Everyone wants to follow me. I'm an outstanding leader. Could you feel that? Your body didn't believe that. Wow, that left y'all dumbfounded. I want you to think about over the next few days how you're using your body. And are you aligned? Because your thoughts are not, your body is going to dictate whether or not it believes the thoughts. Some of y'all are. So this is what I want you to walk away with from that exercise. I want you to recognize the power of verbal and non-verbal communications in those situations. So if you want to accomplish something, and I've seen this happen, I'd like a raise. I need new shoes. DSW's having a sale. But I can't go because you won't give me any money. Could you? Anybody ever see Oliver Twist? You remember the little boy that goes in there? Rule, please, sir. This is not power. Important. I want you to start tuning into the behavior in a society, and not in a, well, you are in the society, but in the hierarchy. Because when you see what your place is and how to relate to people, then you're going to come across aligned and be able to build better relationships. I spoke at a conference one time, and there was this woman, young woman who was sitting in the front row, and this is what she looked like the whole time. And I asked her, I said, do you know what your face is saying? She said, no. I said, you need to talk to your face. I said, you look angry. And she said, oh, my boss says that to me all the time. How can she not know that? How can she not know that if she keeps doing that, one day her boss is going to say, I can't stand to look at you anymore. You're angry. I mean, who wants to come to work every day and watch that? We've got to get really, really self-aware and get our confidence up and support. Don't underestimate the importance of aligning your body, your head, your heart, your hara, your heels, your hands, and get those shoulders back. Our mothers were not fooling around when they told us to get posture training. And I'm going to make a disclosure. Well, two things. My mother used to come up to us from behind and take her hand like that, right between the shoulder blades. And I mean, like this. Right? So what I did about a month ago, now I didn't wear it today for y'all, but I got me a posture harness. It doesn't have a leash on it. It just has the harness. And when I'm home, especially if I'm working on my computer, I have the harness on because we do this. And then when we go to work, may I please have a raise? It's not going to sell in Peoria. So change is a process, not an event. Did I get that across today? So I'm going to go back to my clients. My clients get impatient. And a lot of the things that we do together are pacing it. It's not that you can't have what you don't want, but it takes a while to build a routine. And when I tell them, if I could wish anything for you, what I want for you with all of my heart and my soul and my sinew is for you to have a long, long, long transition. And that's when they leap over the table and try and strangle me. And they say, Cecilia, why would you want that for us? Well, the reason why I want it for you is it usually takes a long, long time to change a habit or to go to something new in order to do something differently. And if you move too quickly, you lose the lesson and you don't take it with you as you go forward. And I don't want that to happen to you. And one of my guys, John, back in 2009, they had a huge layoff at Shell. And they let go a swath of senior executives. And I knew my clients were going to be in a 2 to 3 year transition that they had to pace. And John, every time he would come to my round table, I would say, hey, John, well, what about, oh, Cecilia, we don't do that. I'm an engineer. Engineers don't do that. I would say, well, what about no, engineers don't do that either. I said, John, what do engineers do? Everything I bring up, they don't do. It took 2 years for him to shift his mindset. And when he shifted that mindset, one of the things that he started doing, because I said to him, I said, John, you are a really, really smart man. And if we were to go according to 10,000 hours, which equals 5 years, is an expert. He said, oh, no, I'm not an expert. I said, John, you've been there 25 years. And it only takes 5 to be an expert. Oh, no, oh, no. And I said, well, go with me for a second. If it takes 5 years to be an expert, then if you look at 5 to 15 years, guess what we have? We have an authority. And then 15 to 25, guess what we have? We have a mastery. We have a guru. And so I said, John, I said, actually, you've got mastery. Oh, no, Cecilia. And so the next day I said to John, I said, you know what? I really think that you should start blogging. I had to scrape him off the frickin' ceiling. He said, engineers don't do that. Okay, John. So I said, okay, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go out to WordPress, figure out how it works, and come back and tell the round table. He was on that like a duck on a June bug. He rushed off the WordPress, came back, and in absolute excruciatingly painful language told us, as we were all praying that he would soon finish telling us because we didn't care. So then I said to John, and then John said, and by the way, while I was out there, I blogged. So we all had to get up off the floor. And I said, well, what brought that on? He said, well, you know, I am an expert. I said, really? He said, yeah. Started blogging. So the next thing we know, John's blogging. And I'm going, holy mackerel. Then the next thing that happens, and this is like months and months and months and months later, I was bragging about John. I have a senior executive forum, and I didn't know he was standing behind me. And so as I was bragging on him, he tapped me on the shoulder, and I said, oh, John. And he said, I'm now on the advisory board for RigZone. And those of you that don't know oil and gas, that's the number 1 publication in oil and gas industry. What I'm telling you is this weekend, we're in the week. This week is the 2nd step and the 3rd step and the 4th step. I just want you to think about what is it that if you changed it, if you were willing to stretch, and you can go through the willingness, you can go through the John, but I can't do that, I'm an engineer, or I'm 61. We can go through all of those, but at some point, if you stay with it, your mind will begin to shift. And as it begins to shift, now transition can happen. And transition will take you to transformation. And when that happens, it's when you question your beliefs and you question your opinions and you question your point of view and you question and you look at things differently. And that's when you dig deep to know who you really are and who within you wants to emerge. And when you stop asking why. So when you start doing those things, which is what eventually John and my other clients do, so then they just don't go from point A to point B. They truly go through a transformation, a real transformation, a caterpillar to a butterfly, an acorn to an oak tree. But let me tell you this, in every acorn, there is an oak tree, but not every acorn will bear an oak tree. Because they're saying, I'm going to be 61. Or they're saying, I'm an engineer. That's how you become an oak tree. So we've talked about what gets in our way. And I want to take you through how to get a growth mindset. You either have a fixed mindset, which is like John and my other client, who became growth mindset. Growth mindset. So here we have, I'm such an imposter. I'm never going to get there. I'm going to fall. I'm a failure. Then what we do is we're going to move. And now we move to I choose. I choose to look at things differently. I choose to respond to criticism or feedback in a different way. Because now you're recognizing that you have a choice. And then you practice it. And you practice it. And let me tell you one of the things I did very, very early on when I was in my 20s. It was a very busy time for me, those 20s. Excuse me. Whenever somebody would say something that was derogatory to me, you know the people that come up and they tell you, oh man, I can't believe you got on that skirt, Cecilia, and then they say, oh, just kidding. You know those people? Just teasing. Just stick your finger in a socket, electrical socket. Oh, just kidding. Those people. So what happened is, whenever those things would happen, I would say to them with love, don't take away from my self-worth. Don't you be taken away from my self-worth. And then what started happening is then I did it with myself. When I would think something derogatory about me, or I would have a negative dialogue in my head, I would say, Cecilia, do not take away from your self-worth. Do not do that. Do not do that. Now, mind you, that was in my 20s. That was 50 years ago. I was at a family gathering about 3 months ago, and I overheard one of my nephews say to another nephew, don't you be taken away from my self-worth. Yeah, that's how change happens. And when you do it, then you do not know who you're impacting. I had no idea that he was listening to me. I was doing good to listen to myself then. And I can tell you, I said it a lot. I said it so many times, I think people, when they would see me coming, they would, oh God, here comes the self-worth gal. Get out of here. So these are the things that we're going to begin to look at. So know your mindsets and reframe them. So if you say, I'm 61, how can we reframe that? I can say, everybody wants to hire me because I have such incredible experience. And I get better and better every day in every way. Yeah. Put that one in your bonnet and blow on it. But you've got to really get it in your bones. That's why we talk to each other and we talk to ourselves in the mirror. I do that all the time. When I'm getting ready in the morning, I'm putting on my makeup. Oh, Cecilia, you just get better and better every day in every way. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Good thing nobody's walking in about that time. But I've had those conversations with myself ever since my 20s, when I committed to being the best me I could possibly be. And I want that for you. So let me tell you something about old Warren. I listened to him really closely that day we were having coffee. I think we dated a little bit, not a whole lot. But he said, every time you make a mistake, don't bring up everything that is wrong with you. Tell yourself that you are paying the price for growth and that you will learn to do better next time. And not only that, but every positive thing you say to yourself is going to help. And it's going to be the next drop and the next drop and the next drop that will eventually split that rock of what it is that you say that you want. So these are the small obtainable goals that we want, and you got to get out of your comfort zone. I was talking to somebody earlier today in the audience, and she said, oh my God, I gotta get out of my comfort zone. But she was willing. She was willing to get out of her comfort zone. She's willing to do what she needs to do. Because when you get out of your comfort zone, that is where the magic happens. That is where your life shifts. That is how you get to where you say you want to go. That is what will pick you up and not only lift you up, but then you in turn will begin to lift up other people. So tweet this. I dated him. He's a real cutie. Everybody's crazy about him. Invest in yourself because it's going to pay the best interest. You are never going to be able to get the interest from anything you do more than you will from yourself. And let me tell you this, no one can take it away from you. Nobody can tax it. Nobody can steal it. When you invest in yourself and you change those monsters in your head and that dialogue. I have a client right now that I'm working with. She has done really, really well in her career. She happens to be at a very high level. She's with a company, though, that she just went with a couple of years ago, and this is what the CEO told her. The CEO said this: we really, 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 really like you, and we want you to know that our culture is people over performance and over results. Pretty shocking. Oh. People come first in this particular company's culture. And he said, you got to work on your people skills. She doesn't have people fluency. And that is what we're working on. And let me tell you what. When it's a skill that we haven't really mastered, and when we were brought up being told that we were never enough, and that we never did anything right, and that we would never do anything right, that's how those monsters move into under our bed and then into our head. That's how that happens. And those voices and the people that told us those things, what happens is when we become an adult and they're no longer telling us, we then tell ourselves what they started. And you're going to have a lot of self-awareness in order to do that. You're going to have to pay attention to those dialogues in your head. That when you do something and you didn't do it as well as you would like, and you beat yourself up for the whole week about, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't do that right. I should have done this and I should have done that. I had a client not too long ago. She was on vacation. She missed an email that was critical. And it caused another person, a young woman, to go off the Richter scale because she didn't get the credit that she should have gotten. And she should have gotten it. But there was a mistake made. But you know what my client did? She called the young woman and sat down with her. And the young woman was not forthcoming in the beginning. But my client was eventually able to get her to talk. And she found out that what happened, oh, and by the way, what I forgot to tell you is this young woman quit over it. And what my client was able to do in that conversation, she said, I want to learn so that I don't make this mistake again. That someone, that I unintentionally made a mistake and then they quit. Because she had put so much time and effort into this young woman's growth. And she had made sure she got visible. She made sure she got raises. She made sure she got promoted. And now she was quitting over what seemed to be this one thing. And the truth was, it wasn't about one thing. There are two things going on in this scenario. The first thing that's going on is my client made a mistake and put forth an incredible effort to correct it instead of beating herself up for the next year. Number two, the young woman who did not, we found out, had a laundry list of everything that she didn't get and thought that she should have had at the company. And my client said to her, you never asked me. You never came. You never asked. All of these things were doable. So the other lesson in that is you got to ask. But if you don't have the confidence and you're not aligned in who you are and you're not watching those monsters in your head, then they are going to stay with you and you're not going to have and you're not going to have the wherewithal to achieve those dreams that you have that you want. So this is what I'd like to share. This is an autobiography, not mine, Portia's, but it is mine. Chapter 1, I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I am lost. I am helpless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out. Chapter 2, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place, but it isn't my fault. It takes a long time to get out. Chapter 3. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it there. I still fall in. It's a habit, but my eyes are open. I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately and I walk around it. Chapter 4. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the wall, in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Chapter 5. I walk down another street. This is what it takes, step by step by step. This is how we make it happen, drop by drop by drop. So let me tell you this. Once we have information, once we make a commitment to ourselves, once we decide that we are going to do something, all the gods show up. Mighty, mighty energy shows up. But we have to take action. And even if it is one small thing, and I don't even want to say even, just choose one small thing. And I want you to think, because we're going to come back again on Saturday, you and I. Okay? So between the time that you leave right now to the time that we reconvene on Saturday, this is what I offer you. I want you to think of something that you've never had, because you got to do something to have what it is that you say you want. And then I want you to mull it over and see if you are willing. You don't have to commit immediately, but are you willing to do one thing different for 40 days? Now, let me tell you, there's a catch here. If you do not do it 40 days, let's say you did it 11 days and then you missed the 12th day. Yep, you're right. You got to start over. I did this. And let me tell you what. I wrote down what it was. I committed to it. I committed to read it every day twice. I put one in my house. I put one in my car. I had one in my office. So no matter where I was not going to miss a day. And I read that every day, twice a day. And I got to 40 days. And then I got to 150 days. And then I got to 235 days. And then I got to 365 days. And then I got to 444 days. And then I got to 522 days. And let me tell you what, that was my springboard when I left corporate and started my own coaching practice. And that was 11 years ago. Commit. Thank you. Oh, the energy in here is palpable. I love y'all. I'm excited. So go think about what one thing, don't make this difficult. What one thing are you willing to do for 40 days? And then during the next few days before we come back on Saturday, I want you to talk to some people. Find out what their commitment, one thing is, and find somebody who's committing what you're committing to and buddy up with them so that you don't do this alone. It's hard to do this kind of work alone. It's hard to do this in a vacuum. Have I told y'all lately that I love you? Thank you so much. So go commit or be willing to commit. You got work to do. I'll see you Saturday. Thank you.